Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks Data. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who wishes that someday he could recreate the Joker's wicked slide off of that cash pile. It's Adam Clement.
Hello. Thanks for having me again.
Now, you're working on what? You've been squirreling money for some time.
Yes. As somebody who lives in the big city, that's what we do up here. We just count them.
Now, when do you think you'll be able to have this slide built? And will you be able to use 100s like the Joker did?
Given how much my rent is and how much it's going to increase and, taxes and all that jazz, give me like 472 years.
I say like in 472 years we get back together, and then we'll do it. We'll slide down the cash pile you built.
Yeah, we'll confirm this. It's a matter of record. It's been vocalized on the airwaves. Yep. So, however many years it takes, if I'm not right, then you can do an entire article and podcast episode about why I was wrong mathematically.
Oh, I would love that. So you know how good at writing I'll be by that time?
You wonder how much age actually impacts our abilities to articulate. Do we just get exponentially smarter before we become totally senile or what?
I'll finally understand the usage of an adverb. Thanks for joining me on this. You also were with me on the one where we talk about The Dark Knight Rises, the bridge fire. We also did the It Follows one, and you were part of the Halloween H2O driving Data one, which is a great bit. I love talking about him driving. It's always a great bit at parties.
Right. Well, it was only proper that I return after the Dark Knight Rises fire episode. So here we are.
That's right. So this scene with the Dark Knight, and I know a lot of people have issues with the Joker's plan and how intricate it is, and that's not really part of what I was getting into when I wrote this article, because we all know how intricate it was. So when I started looking at this cash pile that he slid down, I kind of thought, well, that makes sense in regards as, being theatrical and doing all that. He only did that in front of 3 people, by the way. But I started looking at it, and so my total was, $4 billion, $4,680 million. But I wasn't as interested in how much money, because we talked about it though, because there's no way to know. And with my math here, you can find it on moviesfilmsandflicks.com, read about the Joker cash pile. I admit 3 times that there's really no way there's no correct answer. You don't see every side of the pyramid. You don't see every aspect of it. So my math, though, the way that I based everything on, I just want to know how long it took to set up. That was where the humor came to me.
That would be just the right thing for your brain to go to, right? Nobody cares about the money, nor does the Joker, apparently. So what do? You spend however many days to sort of suggest, right, that 16 henchmen spend so-and-so hours?
Yeah, 27 hours. And see, the thing is, all right, so here's the thing. So my math is wrong. However, I made sure to know, how long a $100 bill is, how wide a stack of $100 bills are.
That math all checks out. I mean, I did a little quick thing, and assuming a $1 bill is the same size as the $100 bill, I think you're in the clear.
And I also researched the prop from the movie. And if you look at the straps of cash they had, and then you read online, they were selling these online, the fake stacks of $100 bills. So I kind of took that. What's up?
The ones that didn't burn.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of thought I just thought, okay, well, this is the example I have. So I'm just going to assume all these straps is just a 10,000 strap individual. Each individual thing on here is $10,000. And I just based that off of the props that I saw being sold online.
Right. I mean, it's not like there's too much that Jonah and Chris Nolan probably worked into the script that set up this exposition saying, okay, here's the math for this quasi-pyramid of cash that's going to erupt in flames.
Now, someone read once on a script that they said there's roughly $1 billion in this pyramid, but there's no way that would be only $1 billion. My first tier is $1 billion.
That looks way, way over $1 billion.
Yeah, so the script, it said it, but I think they went a little overboard. And I originally thought maybe he built a wooden structure and then they laid the cash on top of it. Then I would have had to done the math about how much wood and sawing.
Nobody cares about the math on wood and sawing and that, that kind of thing.
I don't think he would do that. With his plans, they're so meticulous. And so I just said that's all cash. That is 100% cash. And once I realized it was all cash, something kind of helped me with the rest of it. In that when the Joker slides down, on that cash pile, stuff goes flying everywhere. I think they set it up perfectly. They built the entire thing, and then the Joker got involved and he just made a mess of it. That's the way I see it going down. Because I don't think his employees... Well, does the Joker have employees?
No, I mean, they're clearly, like, threatened, right? Like, if they don't work for him, they're pretty much going to die, and I think they all know that. But I don't know if this is where you're going with that, but it makes you think, do you think that do you think they knew he would burn it, right? Like, do you think that was on their minds? Hey, we're just spending, like, nearly a day or more on this. What he'll do with it, we're not sure.
I think someone asked the question, and some guy's just like, I don't give a shit, man. Joker does whatever he wants.
Best not to ask the boss. Actually, that's kind of what happens in the comics. They don't really speak up. It's not really a forum for that. But I guess, like, you know, if they didn't think that he was going to burn it, because, like, they know they're working with somebody who's clearly insane. Do you think they would have still gone through, right, spending 27 hours knowing that that would be the end game, right? That it would be up in flames and smoke.
I think either way they probably would have done it because they just don't want to die. They don't want to be like Bob the Henchman when Jack Nicholson shoots him.
Right, when he asks for a gun. Yeah.
I think if the Joker says do it, this pyramid that they built, this tiered pyramid, they couldn't have just done it willy-nilly, do you think? I think they had to know how much money they had. And then they built it from there, even though it's not a perfectly tiered pyramid.
That actually makes me think it's funny because anybody who's building such an insane structure or apparatus or whatever, they're going to wonder how much money is, you know, being handled here. Like, that's never not going to be a conversation. So I'm wondering how many of them were just like, yo, how much money do you think this is? That had to have been on their minds. That had to have been a talking point.
Because what if they just started building and then they let's say they built the pyramid with half of what they used the first time around. And then they realize we have way too much.
They're like, we got to start over, fam.
Yeah, they would have to rip everything down, right? They would just have to push everything down. They couldn't build around. They couldn't step on well, I guess they didn't have to push it down. They just would have had to build on the bottom again and then use the boom lifts to kind of work their way up. I guess they don't have to tear it down. But that's still, then they don't know how much money they have left. I mean, he knew how to put a timer in a dude's body so that it blew up at the right time. So I think they went into this knowing how much money they had. That's my theory. I don't think they really know it.
I'm sure that they had whatever mafia guys, they having those little machines like you see in every Scorsese movie in the back rooms where they're like counting dollars. Like, I'm sure they like ran it through there and then just like wadded them up and then started stacking, right? Because they couldn't throw it in a giant pile. That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I could totally see them like counting it up.
That's why I feel good with the numbers I came up with. 20 feet wide, 12 feet high. I think those were the instructions. And then they also, if you look at the clip, it looks like there's a bit of a walkway up the front that the Joker used to bring the accountant up there to burn him alive.
Right. You mean like steps, kind of?
Yes.
Makeshift steps.
I didn't really account for that. You know what's liberating about this, Adam, is that there's no right answer.
Of course not. And it's fun to postulate because now I'm wondering about this like makeshift staircase of cash in the back that we never see.
Yeah, I really think that they had to. They counted it out.
Because then you'd have to claw your way up and then you'd just be sliding all over the place.
Do you think the Joker wants people seeing him do that?
Actually, he might be the kind of person who would be like finding the humor in it.
You think so?
I don't know. It depends. Each Joker is different, right? So like this one, he's got a sense of humor, but he's also the type that wants people to know in certain scenes that he's a dog chasing cars and doesn't know, what's going on. But very clearly, he's very methodological.
Of all the Jokers, let's rank them from would be the most self-conscious to least self-conscious. So I think Hamill's Joker from the cartoon, let's leave out the Killing Joke, from the animated series, he would take a tumble.
Yeah, for sure. No, he was all about the slapstick. And I think Cesar Romero is probably like just in that same tier.
So I just did a thing where we had to figure out the best Joker, and I did a bunch of research on all the different Jokers. Cesar Romero, he sprung himself from prison by building a giant spring in a baseball field pitcher mound, and when a guy hit a ball, it was a smoke bomb. So the smoke bomb goes off, and then a giant spring sprung the Joker from prison.
That's wonderful. That's like perfectly, am I maybe making this up, Silver Age? Is that Silver Age? I don't know. It feels very Silver Age, like Batman in space type stuff.
It made me so happy. I do think Leto's Joker would deal with it
would be
the worst.
He's, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he would not, if he fell down, someone's getting shot.
Right, he'd clear the whole room. Which, to me, is not, that's why I don't care as much for his rendition. But you're right, he's definitely the most vain.
And if Nicholson slides down, he's going to shoot the 2 closest henchmen, and then they'll just go about their business.
I mean, he would make like a crack about art not being perfect and then, shoot somebody in the head.
If someone laughed, they'd get buzzard to death.
Mm-hmm.
I think Heath Ledger's he'd play it off.
It's hard to see because everything he does is so intended, right? He's very particular and careful. At least that's the way he carries himself.
Ooh, this is the way I see it going down, Adam. Professional ice skater, right? The best ice skater on the planet misses the triple axel. People don't laugh. They're in shock. No one's finding joy from the failure of the ice skater. So if the Joker slid down the cash pile, it would everyone would be shocked.
Shock and awe throughout the room. That may be, but I also don't know if we can give the same audience sympathy to the Joker, because when that happens, it's because we're rooting for athletes. I don't know how many. I guess we are sort of rooting for him, but maybe not so much in this scene. But you're right. I do think that it would quiet the room for sure.
Just a hush.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
Especially after all the work that had gone into it, because you don't spend that time and effort on something so ridiculous and then just oh, it's all done. I'm going to just go ahead and ascend my new, throne of sorts.
It's like
and just take a tumble.
The henchmen who make Cesar Romero's pies. Oh, no. Mark Hamill's pies from the Batman cartoon.
Yes.
And then he just throws them in people's faces. That could be a delicious custard pie.
Right, and the stakes are much lower, but it's the same effect. You're doing something with the intent of knowing it's going to be for nothing.
Yeah, I don't know what this pie is going to be used for, but I think people are going to be impressed and smush.
I guess the Joker's real punchline would be not throwing it at somebody's face and actually enjoying a pie, just eating it.
So I'll join other podcasts, and people always think I'm this real random guy who I'll do drafts, and I'll draft Cyborg as the first pick, and people are like, man, this guy's crazy. But sometimes I'm to throw him off, I'll make a totally normal pick, and people lose their minds. So if the Joker just sat down and ate some pie,
right, and then that makes you think, well, if you're a henchman and you're making pies for Joker to throw at people's faces, your motivation, right, to make it good, pretty low. Now, what then do you do knowing at some point, 1 in 1,000, he's going to eat that pie. If you don't like that pie, it's your ass, right? So you kind of have to make each one count. And that's a rough life.
When you're throwing pies at people, they go quick. So he's not really... there's a lot of demand on the... I feel bad for these henchmen. We just made them up.
There's a lot of psychological, trauma that goes into this, emotional labor even. Now we need to factor the emotional labor into this equation, which there's quite a bit of.
So you and I are henchmen, and we just spent 27 hours putting this together. We had boom lifts, we had scissor lifts. We had a really good system. You fill up cash on a scissor lift, you take it over, you raise it up, you give it to the boom lift just to make sure things are moving quick. You're charging them in. You have people sleeping in the back. Because if you're working around the clock, people need breaks, and you need someone to fill that in. That's partially where my 16 came from. We'll never know. But we're watching at the end, and the Joker's just running amok all over it. Are you biting your fist? Are you playing it cool?
I mean, at that point, it's Jesus take the wheel. You've done everything you can. So if he takes a spill, even the Joker, I don't think an agent of chaos like him is even ludicrous enough to blame it on one of the henchmen or me, right? So I don't know. At that point, I'm just done. I'm just glad the damn thing's done.
Yeah, you're right. And you got it done on time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if there was a problem with the construction and it was late and, maybe Chow, starved to death before we could burn him alive, that's bigger problems.
The thing I love most about this is not how much cash there was, but I wanted to come up with my own number to be different. But I just love that there are 468,000 individual straps of $10,000 in cash. So $100 bills. That's a lot. That just makes me happy, though, doesn't it? For you just to... I don't know. I just love the thought of that much going into that pile.
I mean, I don't know. I'm with the mafia dude. His sort of mouth goes slack, and he's just but... And it's hard to reconcile. I mean, I don't know about you, but I ain't loaded. I want just take a stack or two. You're gonna want to invest in higher schemes. bigger, more ambitious escapades. Why not take just a little? I don't know what his bank looks like. I don't know what his his savings looks like.
There's a ton of mattresses, and they're all underneath it in another warehouse.
Right. I mean, there's being an agent of chaos, and then there's, investing smartly into the future.
He should have saved enough to just drop a giant custard pie on Gotham in Nolan's universe. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it would completely betray Nolan's vision of a realistic, grounded Gotham, but I would be into that.
Imagine the ending of Doctor Strangelove, but instead of a bomb, it's a giant custard pie and the Joker's riding it.
I think you just wrote like the perfect Joker endgame.
You can steal it. If you're an artist out there and you're listening to this, please draw that picture.
Yeah, I just want to say yesterday was Batman Day, and they announced a new creative team on the comic line. James Tynion IV, James IV, if you're listening to this podcast, please, we implore you, Joker riding a massive custard pie into Gotham. Let's make it happen, please.
So at the end of the day, when you were reading this, I mean, you're a massive Batman fan. So if you listen to the Movies, Films, and Flicks podcast, we've covered Batman Returns, we've covered Batman Forever. Like, what did you, because I don't know, what did you think about this article? Like, did it make sense to you in the end of the day?
No, and that's because it's from you, but I think it was perfect because every other story, right, is postulating how much money it is, and that's just not your brand. So it does make sense, and I think when I read your analyses, the most curious bits for me personally are the points at which you ground your material in logic and fact, and then the points at which you are forced, right, to make these sort of logical leaps and assumptions. So that to me is sort of where the fun is, and it definitely helps that you have sort of picture illustrations to guide my thought process.
I had a lot of fun putting those pictures together.
I can tell. I wouldn't ask you how long you took to make them, but they look like, I'm going to guess 20 minutes.
3 minutes.
Oh, wow. He's flexing.
With this data, though, I just need really simple illustrations to get this stuff across, because this data, and we've talked about it before, not everyone's going to read the data. People are going to skim through this, and they'll probably make some complaints that they'll be like, you're wrong. And I'm like, well, I said that 3 times. They're not going to read that. So when I make these illustrations, I just want people to get a grasp and like see it. But I don't want to make them they don't need to be anything more than what they are, at least to me.
Well, no, you're right. It's more helpful and educational that way if it's just basic outlines. But by the same token of what you mentioned in your story, like, they're not going to fault you for your illustration talent or lack thereof, if you're not trying. So, yeah, it totally makes sense. In an article that has 3 stipulations that says, I'm probably wrong, nobody's going to come after you in the comments for like less than illustrative designs and animations.
Oh, I'll get a lot of those comments about being wrong. The problem is, I remember when I did that 21st Century Horror thing, I got a lot of people angry that The Shining wasn't in there. So
that'll do it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine. I'm happy to like walk people through it. But at the end of the day, I just love the visuals of henchmen laying out 468,000 stacks of cash so the Joker can slide down it and burn a dude. And then make a few he does this in front of 4 people, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That they're not, he made a massive theatrical show that involved a decent amount of man hours for a very few amount of people.
Yeah, the audience is limited, and I'm actually looking at your article's GIF, and it makes me think of, which one is it? The Donald Duck show where the guy is really old and wealthy. I'm going to get so much shit for this, but what show is it? It's where he dives into the... No, it's not. It's the other one. It's where he dives into his vat of gold coins.
Yeah.
And it made me think of that because cash, it's not as hard as coins, but cash it hurts your butt. I'm watching Heath do this, and he's taking a spill. He probably got a little bit of a bruise on his tush.
Imagine Nolan watching that and his stunt coordinators. Like, Heath, we know your method on this, but dude. Well, this was fun, man. I'm glad that we got to talk about giant custard pies and the Joker riding them, and then a little bit about the article. But if you want to read more, head over to either Reddit, check out my stuff at Lundgren's Front Kick, or go to Movies, Films, and Flicks, and check out my article right there. Also, read all my other data articles. They're great.
Adam, you really should.
They changed Adam's life. Years ago when he read them, he was on his way to becoming, not what he is now. And when he started reading those, now he's doing great. Right, Adam?
Yeah, I watch a lot more movies now. And I think about a lot more stupid shit now.
Well, I apologize for that, but thank you for joining this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, as always.
All right, so for Mark Hoffmeyer and for Adam Clement, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks Data. We'll see you next week.